Yo, what's going on, dudes? HK Titan here with a brand new video for you guys, and in today's video, I have a banger plan for you guys because I'm going to be working with the BTD6 map editor once again, and this time I'm going to be trying to make a new version of Dark Castle. So I've been thinking about doing this for a while, but I really had no idea how to go about it, so I finally had a couple of different ideas that I think would work pretty well. So the first thing that I have to do is I want to create a stencil for the actual castle itself. So making a stencil for the castle shouldn't be too hard. We just need to find a couple of props to use as a stencil. Alright, so I found the props that I'm going to be using for a stencil, and I'm going to be using the prop crate. And then with this crate, I'm going to be like putting it at the top of the map. Now with the castle, we need to be like really careful with the castle because we want to make sure like when balloons go through the castle, they don't clip. So this is going to be a really tedious process, but as far as like the stencil is concerned, I'm going to be using this as like the actual main body of the castle. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to figure out how big I want to make the castle. So if I make the castle like 3 boxes wide, and then if I use this barrel prop and then I make the barrel prop as big as I can, we could actually use this barrel as kind of like a, what do I want to say? Like, we could use this barrel as like the pillars for the castle. And then this is going to make it a lot easier to like make the outside of the castle, right? There we go. And if we do it like this should end up like actually making it way easier to make an actual castle in the map editor, right? Like, it's probably not going to be perfect because we don't have a lot of tools to work with, but I'm definitely going to try to make it as best I can. So now that we have the basic layout of the castle set up, the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and like make a pathway that goes through the center of the map. Now, this is just to like test to make sure that we don't have any clipping going on. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and run a quick test to make sure like the balloons don't clip through the boxes. All right, so the first thing we're going to test is we're just going to test a normal ceramic balloon. And yes, so these ceramic balloons will like go through the castle. I'm not too worried about like the balloons clipping, or actually no, if the balloons clip through the bottom of the castle, we actually have to raise up this box a little bit, because when we start like placing rocks and stuff like that, we want to make sure like none of the rocks or the balloons don't clip through the rocks, right? All right, let's check again to make sure like these ceramic balloons go underneath the box. Perfect. So now that we have the like pathway set up, the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and choose what the castle is going to be made out of. So I have a couple of different ideas. The first idea is like use this rock here as like a platform, and then we could like use this rock and then put it up here and then raise it up. And then with this rock, we'd actually be able to like place towers on top of this rock. But I think I'll have to like lower the box down just a touch. But then again, this rock is just a little bit too barren on top. So I think there's actually a better rock that we can use for a platform, right? But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we still have to make the walls for the castle, right? Actually, no, we should probably make sure like we could place a rock on top of this like platform here. So the rock that I want to use for the platform is actually this one here. So let me go ahead and lower down this where it's just to the point where the rock is like clipping through, and that should do perfectly. Because I want to use this rock as like the top of the castle. That way we can go ahead and place towers on top of it. Kind of similar to the Dark Castle map itself. That way we can go ahead and like have a couple of towers placed on top of the castle. All right, so this is what the top of the castle is going to look like. Like, it's not going to be perfect. I was hoping I could place like towers on top of it. Well, we can place towers over here. I wonder if these smaller rocks are getting in the way of placing down towers. All right, so it's acting a little weird. Like, it's not allowing us to like place towers on top of these rocks. So I think we're going to have to rethink our idea. So I think I'm going to have to get rid of these rocks on top. And then I'm going to have to use like a different rock on top of the actual platform itself. So I like the idea of using rocks on top. We'll just have to make sure like the rocks that we place don't interfere with like the placement of tower. As long as we do that, we should be fine. All right, let's try this. Also, I want to try like a different rock to see if we can like place towers on top of these rocks, because if we can, that's going to make everything so much easier. Let me see. So, all right, so it works. We could actually place towers all along the top here as long as we use the box as like the base, right? Okay, so and it doesn't matter if we use rocks on top of the platform either. Okay, so that's one problem solved, but the only other question is, I think I have these boxes just a little bit too high. or maybe I have to use a different style of rock. Well, either way, if I use like this style of rock, it should end up looking pretty good for like the top of the castle, right? Okay, so now they have that figured out, the next thing I have to do is I have to make the walls. Now the walls are definitely going to be the most annoying part because I want to make our walls look really cool, right? But the only problem is, I also need to make like a castle door as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with the castle door. Let me go ahead and like get a basic layout for what the castle walls are going to look like. And then once we get like the basic layer of the castle walls done, I'll bring you guys back. All right. And I'm looking at it and honestly, that doesn't look too bad. Like obviously it's not perfect, but I actually kind of like the way that this looks. Like it looks like an actual castle wall. Like obviously, we have a little bit of, or it's not like perfect for a castle, but for the BT6 map editor, that's not too bad, right? Now the next we have to check is to make sure that we don't have any like variables with like the balloons, and yeah, that's perfect. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is I want to choose a prop to use as a door. So for the door, we want a really dark prop. Like it has to be like the only like really dark prop that we have these like lamp posts that are pretty dark, but I don't think it would serve for a door really well. We also have this really dark rock. Now the dark rock is like my initial go-to because I think the dark rock is going to be like the only thing that we can actually use. Plus I think it would take a lot of these lampposts to like make a decent door. Actually, you know what? If we tilt this like this, how would this look? You know what? That doesn't look half bad, guys. Like it actually kind of looks like an actual like castle door, right? Dude, that actually looks so good. That's way better than I thought it would look. I do have to make a couple of changes here because like the castle wall looks a little bit weird with like some of these rocks, but for the most part that doesn't look too bad, right? I just have to raise a couple of these rocks up just a little bit to like remove that clipping that's going on the left side. And yeah, I actually really like the way that that looks. Like for a makeshift like castle door, that's not bad at all. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and finish up the sides of the castles. And this is where things are going to get a little bit complicated. So let me go ahead and finish like wrapping rocks around all of these barrels. And then after I get done with that, I'll go ahead and bring you guys back. All right, finally, I have like the pillars like placed down. Now, it's not perfect. I know it's not perfect, but this is going to be like the best that we can get with like the tools that we have. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and, dude, this is where it's going to start getting a little bit complicated. I need to go ahead and delete both of these barrels because these barrels are going to get in the way of like making it look like an actual castle, right? So now the next thing I need to do is I need to find another rock to like replace where the top of the barrels. On top of that, I can also delete the other barrels as well. That way we can go ahead and reduce the prop limit. As long as I can like click on the barrel. There we go. So now's when the fun part begins because we need to make it look like the rocks are like sunken underneath, right? Now for the top or for the platform that we're going to be using, I'm going to be using these rocks right here. So with these rocks, I need to make it look good. But I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to like lower down the crate platforms just a little bit. So let me see how this looks. Honestly, that doesn't look too bad, but it's still not what I'm going for. I think I have to make the rocks a little bit bigger. Like the top of the platform doesn't have to be perfect. Like as long as it looks decent, I'll be happy. All right, you know what? That doesn't look half bad. Like guys, I know it doesn't look perfect, but as I always say, you have to work with the tools that you have, and these are the only tools that I have, right? So I think what I want to do, let's go ahead and start adding a little bit of variation between the rocks because that's what's making this look bad, right? So now that I know that the rocks would end up looking decent, I also need to check to make sure that I can place down towers on top of it as well. All right, I can place towers on top of it as well. Yup, that's gonna be perfect. Now, unfortunately, we can't place towers here, but that's not the end of the world. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the top layer of the castle set up, and then I'll bring you guys back when I'm done. Hey, that looks a little bit better by like switching up like the position or like the sizes and the rotations of some of these rocks. That looks way better, right? All right, so now we need to start like making this look a little bit more like a castle. So a couple of ideas I have for like, or to make this look like a castle, I need to like find something that looks like a banner. On top of that, I also need to find something that'll look like a flag. Right, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get away with like a flag because I have all of these props like really high, but what we can do is we could use like these like little wood poles to do, or like these little like tree props to like do something a little bit different. Or you know what, that doesn't look too bad. Like it's a little like a makeshift I don't even know what to call it, but it doesn't look too bad, right? Like if we wanted to, we could like extend these over here and we could almost make it seem like there's like a wooden building inside of the castle, but I think that might be going a little bit too far. Let me go ahead and try to see what it looks like. No, that doesn't look good. I think this looks good just the way it is, right? So now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and test another balloon really quick to make sure like there's no like clipping, and nope. There's no clipping at all. That's actually perfect. Now, obviously, Moab balloons are going to be the exception. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get away with, like, Moab balloons going perfectly through the gate. But like I was saying, there's not really too much that we can do about that. All right, so now that we have the castle done, now I know, guys, I know, I wish I could do more with the castle, but there's nothing else that we could really do with the castle, right? I guess that, like, the only other thing that we could really do is we could, like, add, like, a makeshift flag along the front of the castle, but I just don't know how good the flag will look. So let me go ahead and, like, try to add, like, a little bit of a flag and see if it'll look good or not. All right, so this is, like, a little bit of a makeshift flag. I want to do a little bit more with it, but I just want to like see what it looked like first. And honestly, that doesn't look too bad if I like make him closer. So that was just a test to see if it looks good, and I think it'll end up looking pretty decent. So let me go ahead and make an actual flag now. You know what? That doesn't look too bad for like a makeshift flag, right, guys? Like, I know it's not perfect. Like, you guys don't need to tell me. But, I mean, for the tools that we have, it's not too bad. Now, the next thing I want to do, I'm debating on whether or not I want to make a moat. So, if I make a moat, the water would have to go around the entire castle. But if I make a moat, then it's going to be a little bit wonky. But then again, if I don't make a moat, then we're going to have to, like, use, like, props like this. And I just don't know if it will look good or not. Like, it doesn't look bad. But then when we, like, go around the actual castle itself, but that's when it's going to be a little bit weird. Where's the curved one? If the curved one can go around like the two pillars here, I think I will go with a moat. Or I won't go with a moat. If this doesn't look good wrapped around the pillars, then we'll do something that doesn't look half bad, guys. I'm not gonna lie, that does not look half bad. I actually kind of like the way that looks. It'll add a little bit of a detail, and we can also just like instantly transfer this over to the other side. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stick with this around the bottom of the castle. Because one thing I was a little bit worried about, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to like make the transition from like the ground to the castle look really good. That looks so good, dudes. I actually really like the way that looks. Now, unfortunately, this is where things are going to get a little bit complicated. Because this doesn't look the same as the green prop, but it's like the only thing that we can use because it's the only straight like bush, right? There we go. That doesn't look half bad. Now, what am I going to use for like a entranceway? I was debating. Oh, dude, I think I know what I have to do. Let me see. So I need to like pull up an area, and then with this area, we're gonna make it the area at the actual track itself. So, I saw somebody do this a long time ago. In the BTD6 map editor, but I never had a chance to actually do it myself. But now that I'm making like this style of map, I think I finally have a chance to like make a pathway into a castle. So this is my idea, but it's not looking as good as I thought it would look. If I did it this way, I would have to like make another area on the other side, kind of similar to like this. It doesn't look bad, right? I think I know what I have to do. All right, so I need to delete that area, and I need to delete this one, and then I need to delete this area as well. And then opposed to doing what I was just doing, we'll have like the bottom of the map act as like a highway, like a medieval style highway. And then we'll have the entranceway be like this, and I think this would look pretty cool. Now, how does that look? Now, obviously, we're gonna have to get rid of, or let's get rid of this path really quick. That way we can go ahead and like size everything up to make sure like the areas like straight. But then again, I think I have to use like a curved path because I think the curved path is the only thing that's gonna look good. And this side's still just a little bit too high. We need to drag it down a little bit. And I think that should about do it for the like pathway itself. Like obviously I'll go through and I'll add a bunch more detail, but now we need to go through and we need to add like a bunch of foliage along the side of the castle. So the foliage that I'm going to add around the side of the castle is I'm going to like turn it into a forest. Here we go. That doesn't look too bad now. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to add a little bit more like greenery around the castle. Like, man, this is a little bit harder than I initially thought it would be. It'd be like working with like props like raised to the max, just to make sure that balloons would go underneath them. Like, I probably didn't need to raise it as much as I did, but I just wanted to be on the safe side, right? All right, so we add like a bunch of greenery around the outside of the castle. I'm just like trying to like make the transition from like the woods. I just want to add like something along the side of the castle to like kind of like take away from like this really gray castle. Now, unfortunately, like I was saying, there's not really too much else that we could do with like the castle because we have the props raised so high that way the balloons don't clip through. I think for my first attempt, it's not terrible, but we could definitely do better in a future attempt, right? All right, so I add like a bunch of grass along the like sandy area. That way it was a little bit of an easier transition from the grass into the sand. Now, another idea that I have, I wonder if I like did like or spam down a bunch of these along the pathway, if it would make the pathway look a little bit better. And actually, you know what? That actually doesn't look too bad. But the only problem with doing that is that we're gonna reach the prop limit super quick. So before we do that, let's go ahead and add like a bunch of detail along the outside of the castle. We'll add like flowers, and then of course like adding flowers, we'll make it like a flower field. I think that's really like the only thing that we could do. I was thinking about doing grass, but if we do grass, we can't use that thing that I was doing where we like spam down a bunch of the like sunspots. So we're gonna have to get away with just using flowers, and then of course we'll like make a bunch of different, or we'll add like a couple of different styles of flowers as well. But before I do that, I want to go through and I want to add shade, because I want to add shade before we start like really going in depth with all of the different props and stuff. But I need to add a new stamp layer, and I need to put this stamp layer above the first one. That way we can, or I don't end up messing up like the shade or anything like that, and all the shade is applied to all of our other stamp. There we go, and that looks a lot better now. I want to go ahead and add like a couple, actually I need to erase that one, and then I need to go back to stamp layer 1. And then let's go ahead and we'll add like a couple of a different style of stamps as well, just to mix things up a bit. All right, now, let's go ahead. I'm debating on what I want to do with like the side of the pathway here, because usually they have like something else, but I think we're just gonna have to like do a flower garden. I think that's like the only thing that we're gonna be able to do, because I was thinking about like adding like posts, but if we did posts, then I don't know what else I would add. I was thinking about like adding like more of these makeshift flags, but I don't think the makeshift flags would look good. All right, so we add like a bunch of flowers along the edge of the pathway, and I think that actually turned out pretty nice. We're gonna have to go ahead and add like a little bit of something extra in the background, but I just don't know what I want to add. I think I need to add like a new stamp layer and then drop this stamp layer below everything else. And then I think I need to use, that doesn't look good. Like it barely shows up. What else do we have? We have like these groups of like clovers. There we go. I think that looks really good. Okay, so now we have like both the sides of the pathway set up. Now's when the fun part begins. So I have 2 different ideas. I need to add another stamp layer, and then with this stamp layer we need to drop stamp layer 4 below everything else, because I'm hoping this turns out good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use these pebbles along the pathway. Now, I don't know if this is like the best way to go about it, but I mean, it just like, this was like one of the ideas that I had, and I think this doesn't look too bad. Then again, I'm looking at it and I don't like it. I don't mind the pebbles, but I think we need to do something else. So before we add the pebbles, let's go ahead and work with the sunspot, because I think the sunspots, they look good and they're like a subtle addition. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. And then we'll go ahead and add a couple of the pebbles that I was working with before, along like the pathway itself. We won't add too many, we'll just add a couple. And then what else should we add? I think if I add like a couple of those rocks, the rocks would look good too. Actually, you know what? Oh, dude, that's gonna mess everything up. I need to delete those. I need to add a layer below. I think that's what's throwing me off. Let's add another layer and then drop a stamp layer 5 underneath stamp layer 4, and then we'll add the. Yeah, I actually don't mind the way that looks. All right, now the next thing I have to do is I have to go ahead and add the pathways. So with the pathways, I'm just going to be adding invisible pathways because everything else would look a little bit too off. We'll have the pathways go down the middle of the castle like this. And then I'll make it a double pathway map, and they'll both exit inside the castle. All right, guys, like I'm looking at this map. Like obviously this map isn't perfect, but with the tools that we had, I actually managed to make a castle in Bloons TD6, and honestly, I don't think it looks half bad. Another thing I kind of want to do is I want to go ahead and come back up to like stamp layer 3, and I want to add a couple more flowers along the edge of the castle, because right now it looks a little bit weird with just like no flowers there. But I think if we add like a couple of flowers, it'll look a little bit better. And there we have it, dudes. We have reached the max prop limit. Oh, dudes, that was so close. I kind of want to like try to add like 1 or 2 more flowers here on this side, just because it looks a little bit weird without the flowers. And there we go, dudes. We can't add anything else. That's the limit. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and choose a background effect. So for the background effect, I think I just want to choose like the fog. I think the fog would end up looking the best, and then it'll just like go through the middle of the screen and add a little bit more detail, like subtle detail in the background. And then for the music, I think I'm going to go with the classic BMC Street Party. All right, dudes. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What would you guys rate this map on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, this is the first time that I've actually like tried to like make this style of map. So hopefully it ended up turning out all right. But your guys' feedback would definitely be much appreciated. So no pass found. So I think I need to delete some props. Okay, so it's just 1 prop. All right, cool. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and play this map, and hopefully everything works out the way that I want it to. So we'll go ahead and start off with our Sato. We'll start off with a dart monkey. Actually, let's start off with a dual dart monkey start. Dudes, I hope this ends up looking the way that I want it to. And yeah, so like we have the balloons that are entering over here on the left and right, and then they're going to be trying to make their way inside the castle. Man, I'm actually like really happy the way that this turned out. But again, guys, please feel free to let me know in the comments below any suggestions you guys have with creating this style of map. This was the best that I can do right now. So hopefully in the future, Ninja Kiwi adds like a bunch of new props so we can do a little bit of a better job of making a castle. But anyways, dudes, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward all the way up until round 39, and I'll see you guys here in just a second. All right, dudes, so here we are on round 39, and would you have a look at this? I think this map actually turned out really, really cool. Like, it's definitely not like a super hard map or anything like that. I think if I'd have to rate this map, it would probably be an intermediate map, kind of similar to like Haunted. All right, dude, so now we have to come up with a name for our map. So with the color of the rocks, I think we should like call it like Castle Gray or like White Castle. Let's call it White Castle. I think White Castle is like a perfect name for this map. But anyways, dudes, if you guys would like to give this map a try for yourself, here is the code. But alright, dudes, let me know what you guys think of my version of Dark Castle. But anyways, dudes, again, thank you guys so much for the support on the series. You guys are absolutely crushing it. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, if you guys are new around here, don't forget to subscribe as well, because I do upload daily BT6 content. But anyways, dudes, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.